Welcome to episode 440, where I'm speaking with Sharmistha Guha Majumdar about mushrooms. And even though mushrooms are not widely described in classical Ayurvedic texts, Sharmistha explains how we can evaluate mushrooms through Ayurvedic principles and how mushrooms influence the subtle energies of prana, tejas, and ojas. And most importantly, what considerations to take when incorporating mushrooms into your diet. So please stay tuned. Welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host, Colette. And if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend starting with the first few episodes where I introduce the foundations of Ayurveda and the doshas. To learn more, work with me, or explore my offerings, you can visit elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And for podcast updates, join me on Instagram at Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. And before we begin, just a quick note to say that this podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. It's not intended as medical advice. Now let's dive into this episode. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. Today, I'm very happy to welcome Sharmistha Guha Majumdar, who is a second generation Ayurvedic Vaidya from a traditional lineage. She is a vitality transformation coach working with high-performing change makers who give a lot to the world but are quietly running on empty. Sharmistha listens deeply to identify the patterns draining their life force, and through Ayurveda, nutrition, and mind mentoring, helps them restore vitality, joy, and passion for life. Sharmistha, welcome to the podcast. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much, Colette, for having this beautiful arrangement and getting us an opportunity to know each other, work, and share our wisdom with each other.
Well, I reached out to you, Sharmistha, because you had this wonderful article about mushrooms and looking at mushrooms through an Ayurvedic lens. And that's what I'm really interested in discussing with you today, because mushrooms are not described in the classical Ayurvedic texts. But as you said in your article, we can evaluate substances like mushrooms through Ayurvedic principles rather than relying on textual references. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, surely. First and foremost, we have to understand Ayurveda is not about catalog herbs, foods, or regimen. Ayurveda is about algorithms, how this human body runs. And if it is malfunctioning, not only the human body, everything runs. Everything in this universe, which is made out of the Pancha Mahabhuta, how it is running. If there is an imbalance, what is the imbalance? What is causing the imbalance, and how to balance back? Most of us, when we are starting over, it's necessary, I think, that we study the Samhitas and the classical text and so many stuffs. And we are trained to think that Ayurveda has originated from India, and the herbs that are catalogued there, including mushrooms or whatever may be, we have to strictly follow that. But that's not the case. The case is whether we are based in India or whether we are based in Russia or in Ireland or Scandinavian countries, wherever we are, the human body is there. It is made out of a Pancha Mahabhuta. So whatever resources are around us, if we understand their energetics, then we can make medicine out of it and can bring back the balance again. So that is the beauty of Ayurveda. Another important thing is that the classical texts that some of the Vaidyas are very stringent about, those were compiled in post-Vedic period. So Vedas are something which is apurushaya, means it is told that it is not written by any human. It is an intelligence that has been given to us, the four Vedas. Later on, in the post-Vedic period, the Vaidyas across the globe or across India, because there is a mention of horse meat and all this thing, in India, probably that was not consumed. It was consumed probably in the Russia and other colder regions. Those Vaidyas were also coming for the conferences, discussing, and they were jotting down the points in the classical text. So classical texts are the collection of the practices of the Vaidyas. They are the collection of the trees, plants, herbs, foods, spices that were growing in India. But it does not mean we are not supposed to explore the resources nature is gifting out naturally to us that are growing in different parts of the world, including mushrooms. Some of the communities in India definitely has mushrooms in their dietetics or in their medicinal practices. If we go to the northeast part, they are using it. But for some reason, the connectivity at that time probably was not there, or the connectivity with the mainstream Vaidyas and the Vaidyas practicing over there might not have been happening. So they were not documented so extensively. But if we go to Chinese medicine, the same philosophy we talk about the prana, tejas, and ojas, they are calling it in the name of Shi, Yang, and Shen. My pronunciation may not be correct because that's Chinese name. Same concept. They are speaking of the same concept. Prana, tejas, ojas. They are talking the same. And they have extensive use of mushrooms. That is a gift of that particular land. They are using for people who are very sick, who have energy depletion, prana depletion. They are giving certain mushrooms like cordyceps. People who are having degenerations of their nerves, they are giving them lion's mane. People who have depletion of their stability of the body, they are very weak and the body immunity is compromised, they are giving them reishi and other type of mushroom. And people who where they want to kindle the tejas, chaga and all those type of mushrooms, they are incorporating, making soups with other medicinal berries like goji berries and spices, and they are giving it. So it is not about whether it is cataloged or not. It is about understanding the energetics, and that's what Ayurveda is all about. So in that article, I tried to explore it. Because the mushrooms we are speaking about, we have to know in what region they are growing. The mushrooms growing in, let's say, in the high Himalayan altitude of 16,000, 17,000 feet in Nepal, their chemotype, characteristic, everything is going to be different than those growing in the Yuhan mountain of the China. So place to place, time to time, season to season, everything changes. The entire energetic will shift. We have to understand that. And that's what Ayurveda is all about.
Absolutely. It comes down to, as you mentioned, the Pancha Mahabhutas, the 5 elements of nature. I really appreciate that explanation and thank you for that. And that it's very important where it's grown, because the environment in which the mushroom is grown, whether that be in the wild, on the bark of a tree, in, moist, rich soil, or in an organic greenhouse, it has a really big effect on the qualities and the energetics of that mushroom. And yes, when we're sourcing locally, it's going to be adapted to that season, be more beneficial for us, and environmentally too. It's better, right? Because we're not importing and affecting the environment.
And the thing is that that particular place, that particular season, and the time it is plucked upon, and the time it is plucked upon by the people who are seasoned to do it, not by any novice. People who are seasoned to do it, they know how much they have to take and how much they have to bless the plant, so that when the plants are being plucked, the mushroom or whatever, I'm just referring it as that, herbs are plucked, that will also define whether the plant go into shock and the prana or the ojas or the tejas is intelligence, that is an intelligence, that is disturbed or not. So that is also very much needed. So people who pluck fruits and who know the science or pluck the herbs, they bless the plant, and then they seek the plant that I am going to take this portion, be prepared for it. So they gave the time to the plant. In a particular time, maybe in the full moon, they will pluck, because they know the nutritive essence is more. They know it. Like the honeybee keepers who are very sustainable, on particular amount they will cut from the Nepalian Himalayan cliffs, a particular amount they will cut the honeybees, the honeycombs, and rest of the things they will leave as it is. That is sustainability.
Absolutely.
So they know it. They prepare the plants or the herbs that I'm going to take. So you bless it. I am going to also be very grateful about it. So all things energy. That's what I was trying to say, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's all energy. And also, I love what you said about having the respect for the plant, mushroom, whatever it is. And that's what I really feel that Ayurveda brings that understanding very well. Like say, it could be harvesting under the full moon or a certain time of year or before the rains come. The depth of wisdom in Ayurveda, but also the respect and the sustainability that's really taught is really beautiful. And that's how we need to move forward, right? Understanding that we are a part of nature. We need to respect nature and so on. You mentioned there about prana and tejas and ojas. And so I would like for you to talk a little bit now about how do mushrooms, and of course there's different variety, but in general, how do they influence these subtle energies of prana, tejas and ojas? And for people who are new, if you could explain those subtle energies as well, that would be great.
Yeah. So I was just thinking, Colette, about that one, that every student of Ayurveda is good to start from Pancha Mahabhuta, but as they move forward, they need their mentors, their teachers, and also that kind of study materials to make them acclimatize the concept of prana, ojas, and tejas. Because everything in the beginning, before that, I will be using a particular word called darshan. Darshan. It's translated into English as philosophy, but it's nowhere closely related. Darshan means to observe. So every darshan means to observe. Observe in not to just see, but observe the patterns. So so a good Ayurvedist has to be a darshanik, means who is a philosopher, means who observes the pattern. So they have to identify. That is very, very crucial. Nowadays, when I'm going through certain institutions where I teach or I interact with some of the students, or I rather call them as my co-learners or enthusiasts. So when they come to me, I find them, they have almost marked up their books and they're confused. It is because they are just trying to, this is very predominant in kapha. Oh, this is very predominant in pitta. That confuses them. To simplify everything together, we can learn about the concept of prana, ojas, and tejas. So in the beginning, this is our observation that was done by the Vedic sages. Not only in India, across the globe, whenever certain human beings were ready to receive the frequency, they are sages. Not only the rishis sitting in the Himalayas, they can be on the Andes, they can be in some Russia, they can be in China, they can be in Japan, wherever, or if they can be in the Micronesian islands. They were ready. They became the receptor, and the download happened. That was the thing. So in the beginning, everything was silent, and that is consciousness. Nothing happened, and then a spanda happened. These words are very, very important. Spanda, just a little vibration happened. That was the beginning of prana. Animate. It started animating. That consciousness started animating. That is prana. This prana now has the intelligence which can condense. I'm oversimplifying it so that people can identify and understand. When it solidifies into an intelligence, it holds a structure. We call it ojas. And when it kindles a transformation intelligence, we call it tejas. So this is the very, very, very rudimentary understanding. Everything is about prana. So prana is balancing prana is the future of medicine. So now we are still, as Ayurvedists also, we are still medicines about herbs, formulations and all. But in the future is all about energy medicine. That is going to be the future in the next 100, 200, 300 years down the line. That is the future. Now, coming to the mushroom, we have to, as I said, we have to be darshanics, means we have to observe. If you closely observe the patterns and you study the siddhantas means they are the concluded truths that were compiled by the people who got the downloads of that wisdom. They observed and they understood the pattern. If now we understand and we closely observe the different types of mushroom, the mushroom like cordyceps growing on a caterpillar and they are just growing up. So anything which is a vertical movement, there is a rush of energy as if it is rushing off. Something like guduchi plant and just growing and just spreading around, certain medicinal creepers, including the mushrooms also. They are too much of prana, so they will open up the system. Any person who is feeling very dull, they are not having any more activity. So for them, can give them that kind of mushrooms if we get from the wild variety, full of prana, cordyceps. Another variety, rishis, and that kind of, you see a bulk. They are bulk. So they have the intelligence of structure. So wherever there is a depletion of structure of the heart muscles or the lungs are depleted or people suffering from tuberculosis or some operations were done on the lungs so because of the cancer growth, some parts were cut off, liver, some parts were eroded and they were dissected off during the surgery. Again, rejuvenation needs to be done. We need mushrooms like that, rishis, which can again bring back that kind of intelligence of ojas into the system, so that the body understands and build back the organ system again, the tissue systems again. The third category is the tejas. Tejas is about the sudden spark that we are talking about. So if you take account of the chaga mushroom, if you break off it from the birch tree, you will find that externally it is black, internally it is just very vibrant orange color, as if some volcano is hiding the fire within. So that will increase the metabolism. That will increase the intense fire, the intense clarity. So intensity, it will kickstart. Also lion's mane, if you see, that also brings back the ojas, the building intelligence, and also the tejas element to restructuring of the nervous system nerves. So I am telling it by studying the patterns. The pattern study has to be done by the students of Ayurveda. How the structure is there, which direction they are growing, how they are vertical or downward or on the side, horizontal, or how they are growing. Are they limited or they are spreading? Everything is speaking to us. So those type of concepts are very necessary, and they also connect to the two very important siddhantas. One is the samanya vishesha siddhanta, like increase, like that particular concept, and when there is an increase of any of the factors with the opposite factor, you can help to rebalance. So samanya vishesha siddhanta. Another is yat pinde tat brahmande, means whatever is happening inside your body, that is also happening outside. So that signature of the mushrooms will tell you how they are going to help us with whether prana, ojas or tejas. So pattern study, we have to be very good observers. We have to be darshaniks.
Exactly.
So that will help.
Yeah, and have that awareness of how the individuality of each of these types. And we have to take into consideration that mushrooms are those ecological transformers, right? They are very useful in degeneration and recycling plants and materials in the forests and so on. They grow from decay. So we have to take that into consideration as well, right?
Yes. So that is very important. Means they are converting that energy into something beautiful.
Right.
As women practitioners, that is our privilege. We see beauty in everything, aesthetics. So I say to my co-learners, and I say, look into the beauty, look into the pattern. Don't get so much into the, the male energetics that analyze. Get into that particular thing. So that will also make you fantastic practitioners. You know how to make medicine out of anything. You will learn to do. You don't have to go to the market only to fetch the herbs or the mushroom. Even the mushroom which may be growing in your vicinity, which the local folks are using, you can make fantastic things out of it, because you can smell. The smell tells a very fascinating story. If it is a very pungent smell, that means tejas is very strong. If it is has a smell, that means prana is there. Like that, you can discriminate the color, the budding, the structure, the growth pattern. Everything tells about the energetics, and that is how the Vedas or the people in the past, they understood, analyzed, and cataloged. That is how the Rasa Panchaka came much later. They observed it.
Yeah, and I love how you say the feminine has that more intuitive energy. And so intuitively, along with observing the different types of mushrooms, how they're growing, their color, their smell.
Yeah, it is something we all are born with. All of us are born with. Everybody is spiritual, because we come from the same concept of prana. So because that consciousness animated, so you, me, everybody has come into this being. So that intelligence is within us, and we when we get our diplomas, our qualifications, we are trained by the masculine energy, we lose it. And that makes us always go back to second guess our intuition, and always go back to the books for the referencing. But Colette, we should not be forgetting that we have since the books were compiled, so many years, thousands of years has passed on. So many changes has happened in the environment, in the climate, everywhere. As a result, the plants that were catalogued in the classical text, their chemical structure has changed, their energetics has changed. So whatever we are reading in the books, we should not be accepting it as it is. Our intuition will tell what is the thing that it can do for us, if we are ready to listen. Everything has a way of communicating. So plants communicate with us with their signature styles, color, smell, whatever I repeated, the growth structure, the time they are blooming, the time they are rotting over, everything has that pattern. So our intuition will help us to connect that, because the intuition is nothing but the language of the soul, and plants already are speaking from their soul, exposing their patterns. So when we connect from that place, we will know it.
Oh, I love that. I got shivers when you said intuition is the language of the soul. And that is so important, because since the Vedic texts were downloaded and written, and so much has changed, as you said, and how we grow and what we're using on the soil and everything. So all that has an effect on these mushrooms and of course, all other foods and natural materials.
And how they're handled, because I went to Kathmandu last year in Nepal, and I saw that many of the fake cordyceps were sold in the market, and Chinese people were flooding the market to get it because it is a strong prana infused mushroom. So it gives stamina, and when it is cooked in a soup or a broth with chicken, ginseng, and all those things, goji berries. So it will give them a kick of energy. Now people are flooding in the market, but the thing is that when we are not understanding, when we are not intuitively following, that our common sense get lost. We should, because cordyceps cannot grow so much in volume as they are selling it in the market. Then how come where these are coming from? People hardly question. They have money and they're busy buying to get energies back into this system. But they can do it with very basic things also, locally available. But still, whatever is hyped, people become very overwhelmed because they are not listening to the language of the soul.
Absolutely. And this is what we need to reconnect to. I am right there with you, Sharmistha. Absolutely. You have already told us some fascinating information on different types of mushrooms. And I'd love to delve a little deeper into some types of mushrooms now and talk about the gunas, the prana, the ojas, the tejas, and the digestive qualities of a few different types of mushrooms.
That would be lovely. One thing I would like to highlight is that whenever we are taking something like mushroom, it should not be a part of regular dietetics. We should not be consuming it regularly because for that we need very strong digestive fire, Jataragni, because they are going to be good. They are growing in a very damp environment and over decayed materials. So any common people cannot consume it. Just imagine, I will give you a simple example. Suppose you are taking a vessel which is made out of mud. Now it is just freshly baked, freshly made. It has not been baked. If you put water in it, loads of water, it will break up. Similarly, when you are giving something which is very high in prana to a body which is not capable of handling, the body will go erratic and it will be maddening effect. So preparation of the body is very, very necessary. So when those mushrooms have to be given, if somebody is saying, oh, okay, yes, I have money, I can get cordyceps easily, I will get my vitality back. Their body may not be able to handle it. They may get mad. They can become insane. So that intelligence has to be there. How much quantity? Not like this. Though you may be having money, but that does not mean you will have this much amount. Very small amount of time, maybe for 3 days they will take and then stop, because body will now have the kick of energy and it will do the rest of the thing. If we are eating our food, traditional food, I keep on telling, it's very important to keep eating our traditional food where we come from. Is very important. So it's very bad idea to experiment with different types of hyped food, whatever it is. It's not good idea. So because our genes or that they cannot be able to handle it. So everything is imprinted. That is also energetics. So
it's important to eat locally and seasonally.
Yeah, according to the traditions of their lineage.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also, before we move on into the separate types of mushrooms, it is a very good point you're making there about that the mushrooms can be hard to digest, especially if someone has Agni Mandya, low Agni.
They should not be taking it. They should not be taking it. And if you see how the Chinese people are preparing it, you will see they are adding lots. They may be adding it lots of other ingredients and giving to very sick people, or they are assessing it with the help of the pulse or with their chi. They assess it very thoroughly. Not only they ask the lot of questions, oh, this is good, this is bad, but they go into it thoroughly. They take time for proper assessment, and that is very, very needed. How they are mentally feeling, what pattern is there in happening to them years after years. So everything, that question has to be there, and finally they have to write the prescription. So just by listening to the rogi or health seeker that I have these diseases, I always try to understand what is happening at the energetics level, because they will flood you up with so many things that I have this growth, this is not, my menstrual cycle is not happening properly, I am sleeping erratic, I am feeling depressed. But what is the core pattern running the show? If we hold that core pattern, our work is almost 70% done, and rest the diet, medicines, lifestyle changes will do magic.
Yeah, the root is like the energetics, like you said. The future of medicine is the balance of prana, the energy in the body.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should avoid as well eating mushrooms raw and combining them with things like dairy as well.
Yes, they are guru and difficult to digest.
Heavy, guru is heavy, yeah.
Heavy, and our Jataragni should be very good to digest, and they have to be prepared warm in limited quantity in broths, even if they are dried and powdered. as tea, we can be served, but with certain added, they can be combined in two. Suppose we want to infuse prana, and for prana in a person who is highly depleted in tissue, so we will combine two types of one mushroom, maybe giving the prana, another will be building back the ojas, intelligence. We're combining together, and with other herbs, fruits, or maybe toss it with the help of meat, with the help of rice wine or sake or whatever it is, to extract the principles of because every herb will be having some principles that are water soluble. Some components are maybe alcohol or oil soluble. So we have to extract it. So we have to know how to process it and prepare it accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Okay, so let's move on to the different types of mushrooms now. And let's start with lion's mane and talk about where you tend to find lion's mane in nature, and then the effect that has on the energetics of lion's mane.
Yeah, I will tell you that article where our connection started from. I was in the end. I have mentioned that I was exploring it in India and all those places. We may not be finding this variety. Some of them I have seen in Kathmandu. Some of the mushrooms I have, cordyceps and reishi, I have seen in Kathmandu, and many of the varieties I have not seen. I am exploring based on the discussion that were happening in some other groups, and then I started studying it. Now coming to apart from that, I have seen different varieties of mushrooms which people may not be using because they don't have the social media coverages, but they are used by the indigenous people for thousands of years in India, northeast part of India. Now coming to the lion's mane, they generally have the pattern of growing on the birch tree. Birch tree, they generally grow. Whenever you are studying any type of herbs, you have to study, you have to I look into the pattern. How is the structure? They are white in color. They are just going downwards, and they are not very thick. They are spreading with the apex. They are spreading across, and you try to understand what type of signature we have similar in our body. So if that kind of similarity, that are filaments or the nerves that we have in our body, the longer portion of the nerve bodies, so we have that. So this particular lion's mane will be very much it will help to bring the ojas at the structured intelligence of highly depleted nerves. People with their nervous system highly depleted, it will help to rebuild it, because it will have some tejas which is specific for rebuilding the ojas or the structural stability of the nerves in our body, or the filaments we have in different organ system. It will help to do a good job in restorative that. So this is the beauty of lion's mane. It will be very useful in those cases. But in the beginning, whenever we are talking about nerves, anybody have some neuralgia or nerve degeneration, in the beginning, it is very important to assess what is causing the nerve degeneration. We have to remove the ama if there is. If there is a plaque, we have to remove. We have to clean the srotas. If the pipeline is clogged, how it will reach? Absolutely. It will further block. That is needed.
I think that's very important advice as we go through these mushrooms and we're looking at it through an Ayurvedic lens of the energetics. Please note that it's so important to get professional opinions before taking any mushrooms or any Ayurvedic herbs, because you really need an individualized assessment and professional advice before using any of these herbs or mushrooms in this case. So thank you. Very good point there. And so let's move on to, you mentioned cordyceps earlier, the Chinese cordyceps, because that's very interesting too, how they grow and their energetics.
It is very high. Cordyceps I have seen plenty. Some of them are fake. Some of them were fabricated and grown artificially, and so a lot of adulterations are happening if we see, and some are definitely originals, and they are very, very expensive. So now coming to the thing, if you see into the cordyceps pattern, you will see that they grow upwards. Upward, they have that, not horizontal, vertical. So it's like a surge of electricity. Prana, very, very high in prana. So very good for people where their prana is so depleted, they are not getting even the energetics to go up, very depressed system. So for a sudden surge of electricity jolt, we can give them cordyceps, but for a very short period of time.
Yeah, so it doesn't overactivate the system.
Overactivate. If a person has something like they are taking some kind of drugs or alcohol and other types of things which are already, nothing in this world is non-medicinal, everything is medicinal. We just need to know what is it. So if they are already in or too much caffeine intake, too much tea intake, for those people, their system is already having chaotic prana. The prana is too much in their body and they are overstimulated. For them, cordyceps is strict no. But people who need it, for them for a short period of time, let's say maybe for 3, 7, 14, 21 or latest 42 days, we can give them a course like that. But for a short duration, I think their system will be able to handle it better. And again, you said it is the assessment of the Vaidya to give it. So people in Chinese medicine, they have a very, they're trained to know the fake from the original one, the wild from the grown variety. They will know it very thoroughly because for years and years, their mushroom is a part and parcel of their medicine culture. So they will do fabulous job there.
Absolutely. And like you said, this goes back to the principle you mentioned earlier, the Ayurvedic principle of like increases like. So if you already have an overstimulated nervous system, using something like cordyceps is going to cause a lot of overstimulation and a lot of other problems. Whereas if the person is very depleted, lack of motivation, inertia, then that can be good in a specific short amount of time.
Another point I would like to add, people who have a very Vata Pitta constitution, for them, this should be cooked and prepared with food which will also give them the groundingness. Along with that, if it is given, then in soup format, with chicken or something like that, which is grounding, with some rice, chicken porridge like congee, if it is some of the amount of the cordyceps is sauteed and given according to the principles how they want to be administered, and then it will be better. They won't feel the sudden bolt of electricity. They will feel energized, but at the same time, there is a groundingness in the system. Like that, we have to give it with the dietetics also.
Absolutely. And maybe some digestive spices also.
Yeah, not too much. It is already very stimulating. Something which is not very stimulating, but little amount, very small amount of ginger, maybe cardamom, maybe very small amount. Ginseng is also very stimulating. Very little, very minuscule. We just have to give it and to balance it out and give it to them, and little amount at a time. So that will be helpful.
Yeah. And as you said, more grounding, nutrients like congee, the rice soup or the meat and so on. That's more providing more of a grounding foundation for that energy. Yes. So it slows the transfer of that energy to the person.
Yeah, in that line, I would like to add one point because since this discussion will reach to many of our colleagues or co-learners who are exploring the science. Prana they can imagine prana like electricity, tejas like spark, sudden spark, and ojas maybe the battery that is holding the electricity.
Oh, I like that. That's a great analogy. Yeah, that really helps people visualize it. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because we hear about a lot of these mushrooms, especially in the Western supplemental industry now. So that's why it's good to cover these. And that's why I think it's important for people to understand the energetics of these mushrooms. And the next one I'd like to cover is reishi, because that's one you hear about a lot in the supplement world.
You look into the structure. I will always go back to the patterns, the language. So you see, it is spreading horizontally. And what spreads horizontally? Water. It is growing like that. So it is a structure, bulkiness. It is like a Prithvi or the earth element mixed with the water element, and it is spreading a bulk. So it has the intelligence to build back the ojas in the system. People who have thinned out. So the Rishi will help to have that ojas intelligence into our system. So it has to be given with spices, as you said, Szechuan pepper or black pepper, and prepare it in a format, in a broth, and give to people who have thinned out after years of chronic diseases. They need to restore back their heart, the muscles, and you see the different layers of the Rishi. It has different layers, as if it is speaking that I'm going to nourish you in different layers of the tissues. It is speaking. It is already speaking to us. Look at the pattern. So it will rejuvenate the muscles, the heart, the liver, the lungs, the kidneys. Everywhere it will, tissue by tissue, it will be doing. And for that, to administer it, we have to cook it with something like ginseng or garlic or something like ginger, and we have to give it along with the other food. We can give it, and people can take it for a certain period of time. And little, they can start with little, because if they take something which is so guru, they can have indigestion, and again ama can build back. So little amount at a time with other food, and then slowly their depleted tissue repository will fill up. So that is what Rishi is telling to us.
Very interesting.
And there is an old Chinese name for, I think it is called the mushroom of immortality. When a person becomes immortal, they will become immortal when their tissues, intelligence are intact, the stability is intact. They can hold the prana for a longer period of time. It's like the battery is very stable. For years and years, the battery is going on. So the structure of the battery or the body, it will help to keep in structure. So that is what Rishi is telling to us.
And as you mentioned, Rishi is guru, so it's very heavy. So that's why you're using those stimulating spices here, like garlic and ginger and so on, ginseng, because it has that heaviness in the energy.
Yeah.
Okay, which helps people obviously digest it then. The next one I want to look at is shaga, because that's another one that we see a lot in, again, the supplements.
Yeah. As you see, since you are a practitioner, you see that they say whenever there is a blackiness, there is involvement of pitta. Because why pitta? They called it, or the tejas, Mahabud, because teja has the capacity to burn. And whenever our food is burned off, we have the black particles around.
Carbon,
Carbon, right?
Yeah.
So now coming to chaga, we see the externally is blackishness. You break it off from the tree where it is clinging upon or growing upon, you will see, and break it, internally it is orangish. As if the tejas, it is holding the tejas like volcano.
Wow.
It is ash, there is ash around, and internally there is the fire. So it is telling, I am holding the fire. Sudden kick bolt. It will give the sudden kick bolt. Not huge amount at a time is good. Small. So you can combine it. You can combine the rishi with little amount of chaga, saute, or the whatever format they like according to their need of the body, and you can give it. Little amount, because it will give the spark. It will give the spark or the transformation. It will help with that. So not lot at a time. Too much warmth, too much intensity, too much analytical mind, which is also not good at a time. So that can happen with the shaga. So that is the language which is speaking. I am holding the fire within. So beware of me.
That's wonderful. Okay. And as you said, to combine it with reishi, because that has a more of heavy energy, so it will bring more balance to the shaga, which is that really bolt of energy, as you discussed. Tejas, exactly. Yes. Thank you. And let's talk about the normal mushroom that we would find. Say, for example, if an organic mushroom grown in a greenhouse with, soil that's prepared. This is the ones what we might find in our supermarket. So what would be the energetics of that type of mushroom when we think of the button mushroom that we would find in a supermarket?
It is bulk, right? So bulkiness. So bulkiness, it can be helpful. First and foremost, when they are artificially grown, when we are growing them, because whoever is growing them, they have some amount of thought in the back of the mind to make profit.
Yeah.
That energetics is going to pass over to the plant, to the mushroom. It is definitely going to be there. So that greed energy, that profit making energy, that heaviness, that heavy thought is going to be there. So if you see that kind of mushroom, we cannot digest so well. It becomes very difficult to digest. The normal button mushrooms and other shiitake, even they are raising that one also. So anything which is not naturally growing on its own happily, nature is happily raising them for gifting to us, it will have the energetics and the imprint of the grower's mindset, the environment, the heaviness. Even if it is a greenhouse, there is some kind of heaviness that is associated with it. So in that case, it is always good idea, if it is doable, to go with the natural, local, seasonal food instead of going for those. Talk about this one, this will add bulk, but very difficult. It is very guru heavy and kapha, and that kapha is also not natural kapha. It is like bikruti. There will be a deviation. So I experimented it many years back, almost in 2010. At that time, I shifted from my traditional food and I started becoming a vegetarian. So what happened was that I started taking mushrooms. Immediately I developed rheumatoid. So there was because I was unable to digest it properly, and I developed it. After I stopped and came back to my traditional food, in our family, the fish is a staple thing. Fish, we grew up on fish, rice, like the Japanese people, where I belong from, with the region I belong in India. I came back again to that kind of normal food. Everything shifted. There was no trace of any inflammation, nothing. Everything back to normal. So that was, people say, oh, these mushrooms are very healthy. They are very protein rich and blah, blah, blah. They keep on telling on the media we see, but it's not. It's not easy to digest. Right. First of all, it's heavy. And second of all, it's going on decayed material. And third, they are raised. They are cultivated, not natural.
Yeah. And as you said, so if the digestion is not strong enough, and if they're not cooked properly enough or combined with the spices and so on, that it can cause ama formation in the body. And as in your case, the rheumatoid arthritis, it can affect in the joints and so on. Is there any other things we need to take into consideration as we finish up this conversation about, certain constitutions, or this time of year, here in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in spring. So there's a lot of moisture in the air, and that could be a difficult time of year to digest these mushrooms as well, right?
First and foremost, the bottle mushrooms, people are buying them in forms of capsules of supplementation. They are not at all good idea. On a longer time, they are going to create ama, because body has its own intelligence. It is going to get confused that what are these? I have never seen them, because it is not keeping the information of this generation I am. It has the blueprint of my grandparents, their parents, and several thousand generations before me. So they are going to get confused. So the package variety which is stored in the aisle, in the cold aisles of the malls, again further, their prana is just chaotic. Continuously the refrigerator is buzzing and making sound. Wi-Fi's are going around in the super malls, and the thing, it is totally destroying the pattern in the food, and we are bringing it, microwaving it, again a pattern changing. Again, we are using the spices which are bottled for many months and sold in the supermarket. Very difficult. So now so for people who are suffering, especially from chronic issues, degenerative problems, cancers, and all that, they should not be listening to the social media hype. If they are getting access to freshest, natural, wild variety, they need to talk with, I would say, naturopaths, means who know the nature so well. They are also Ayurvedists. Anybody who knows how the body runs and trying to meet back the balance, for me, they are Ayurvedists. Anybody. So that's the thing. So they need to talk with the local people who are harvesting because they have the wisdom. That one they can bring and they can cook and eat. Rest of the thing at the springtime, they should eat something which is easy to digest and something which is which will give them the good amount of warmth, not too much warmth, because again we are moving slowly to summer seasons. Too much heat is not good. Again, the prana, if it is depleted or getting clogged up because of too much of kapha in the system, then for that we need a balance of prana and tejas. So we have many good things in the northern hemispheres. I see people who take my consultation. I tell them you have very good selection of pine trees around. So pluck some of the freshest of the edible pine needles, soak them in water, and take it with little amount of raw honey. You will feel a sudden sparge of prana in your system, very much refreshed, very much charged up. So that can also they can do. Colette, the thing is that if people have good connections with their parents or older generation grandparents, when they're chatting with them, it's always better to ask them what they were eating when they were young. That holds huge amount of wisdom. Always.
It's so true. And in the generations past, lived closer to nature now than we do today.
Yeah. Even if somebody does not have who is adopted or who does not have any connections with their family, for whatever reason it may be, they can talk to the people of their own ethnicity. That will also give them huge amount of information. And for adoptive children, the parents, the new parents can look into their preferences of the child. That will give an indication that what their body is craving.
Absolutely. Sharmistha, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much. And as we finish up here, if there's anything else you want to share, but also I'd like you to tell people where they can find out more about you and your work and so on.
First of all, I really enjoyed. It was it felt that two of the friends are sitting together, of the same community, of the same fraternity, sitting together. Two women are sitting together and respecting each other's intuition. I'm very grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And people can find me on LinkedIn, where I keep writing down whatever things I explore. And if they really want to take up the consultation to bring back prana into their system, because prana is everything and that is the future of medicine. So they can connect me on LinkedIn. So I have the handle Ayurvedic Sharmistha. So, and pattern recognition, that is very important. I want to emphasize pattern recognition, patterns that are repeating in our life, in our mind, in our family, in our career, in our diseases. We have to recognize that, because everything has the same key. If we can hold of one of the key, we can unlock all the doors. So that is very important. Instead of taking a huge amount of formulations, and I'm very sad to see even some of the Ayurvedists, they don't spend enough time to have heart-to-heart conversations with the health seekers. They just write prescriptions. They are publishing papers. Most of them are male practitioners. So they have that male energetics mindset. They are just writing the formulations and they are very happy. Yeah, the disease is getting cured. But is it really true that the disease is really getting cured? I doubt it. I feel very saddened. And another thing, I'm you may sound little biased, but I'm very proud about being a woman, and I love to see women practitioners listening to their own voice.
Yeah.
It's very important.
They
get too much. They get too much clouded by the voice of the male teachers or the female teachers who are conditioned by male teachers, earlier trained teachers. They get too much into that. But if they can be courageous enough and come out of the cell of that particular conditioning, they will understand Ayurveda in its truest essence. That is the thing. Ayurveda is not books. Ayurveda is a living science and art too.
Absolutely, Sharmistha, you're speaking my language. I totally agree. We have to be careful that Ayurveda doesn't go down the allopathic path where you have a short consultation and you're just writing prescriptions. That's why I love to have like a 90-minute consultation with my yogis, and it's more about learning about them. I do very little prescription, and it's more about education and educating them on their connection to their true nature, their unique constitution, but also their connection to their environment around them. So I think that's really important. And I think as women, yes, I totally agree. We need to connect with that intuitive sense and not underestimate that, and really bring that into our work with Ayurveda.
Yeah. And we need to teach the next generations on the same line, make it very easy, very lucid, and just understand it in terms of energetics, not on the bookish languages, and the rest will fall into places. Always it falls into places.
Well, I really appreciate the way you described looking at how the mushroom grows, and that can tell us a lot just by observing and the awareness of how the mushroom is naturally in nature. And that's a great way for people to start building that awareness around these, mushrooms and plants and herbs. So thank you. I really appreciate that wisdom you shared with us today.
Very appreciative too.
Thank you. And I will put the link to your LinkedIn, which is where I found your wonderful article, and lots more other great articles that you've shared there. I'll put that link in the show notes. Sharmistha, I hope you come back and visit us here on the podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me with you today. Yeah, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Sharmistha, and please check out the show notes for the links mentioned. And if you would like support on your Ayurvedic journey, please check out my online services on my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And if you have any questions before you book, then please take advantage of my free 15-minute services inquiry call. We can hop on Zoom and I can answer all of your questions. And if you think this episode will be helpful to family or friends, please share it with them. And if you feel like you're getting benefit from this podcast, I would appreciate a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcast. And don't forget to follow or subscribe so the new episodes download for you automatically. And please come join me on social media. On Instagram, it's Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. And on Facebook, it's Elements Healing and Wellbeing. And until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.